All right, here we go again. They're saying that there's a way for me to share this on my DHS so they can see that I'm broadcasting. But I don't know if it could be blocked, but at least somebody in the department will see it. Let me find it. Okay, share. Maybe Elon's helping me here. He's a crook, did I tell you? Biggest crook ever. Let's see here. Good dice. So what you have to do, you have to build more Sally ports. That again, we don't know what the future of anything is, and 9/11 should have built Sally ports into ICE. And your courthouses could be newer. I don't know, but in 9/11, ICE courthouses should have had Sally ports installed. And again, there might be a physical incapability, but I don't. You'd have to. I'm sure you have like loading docks somewhere. You might be able to take over a loading dock. Maybe that makes too much of a hassle. Maybe you can get some more space next door and break down a wall. I don't know how your buildings work, or maybe even just build a take over an office and turn it into a Sally port. Right? I'm trying to find ICE here. I can't. I'm not gonna say anything until I find the search for ICE. Says you're actually here. No, it's just spiritually indicated that you might actually be here. Following, like you're following. It said you were following me. But it reverses the inference. That's how seeing works. All right, we'll start from the beginning here. Actually, let me give it to DHS too. I'll try to stay focused on this here. They destroyed my life, man. Decades of it. They're disgusting. They're pickish people. I'm back at you. Whoa. That's how they do it. They just use spells to get out of it. Yeah, the whole time you're working in the government, honest, and they're this big crook machine trying to kill you for some outside boss. Right? We're gonna be on in a second here. All right, gave it to Cash Patel here if you can see it. If X is blocking it, they'll go to hell for it. I got to do it that way. Everything's got to have a curse attached to it if you do it. Let me just try to do it again. Try to mess up my treadmill. All right. So one of the things I just figured out is during 9/11 there was an increase in security funding and things like that after 9/11. For some reason, unless they're newer courthouses, the ICE courthouses never installed. And if the reason could also be that there's no way to do it, but they never installed Sally ports in their courthouses. We need to look at that and see if we can get that done. I mean, that's a future project. It's going to take a while to do, but you can do things like take over office space and give somebody some different office space, and then you create an elevator down to the Sally port, and then they'll be able to, they can pull the van in and won't have to worry about doing loading up the van on the street. Now you'll probably still might need protection outside the Sally port. Right. Gosh, I hate this weather. I mean, as soon as it gets warm here, it just gets muggy. So we look into that. We need to present to the judge the truth of what's going on the street. Judge Breyer, that's his name, was wrong. You do not have the state and federal facility or people to keep control, but you need to tell them, look, the people we have on these assignments are supposed to be, a lot of them are high-level criminal investigators. They're supposed to be out there investigating other stuff, but we need them for this mission. We need to cut them loose, so we need the National Guard to provide that security. And anyway, they're still not. We still don't have enough people, and the state and the city aren't going to do it. That's a scam. We can't rely on somebody where, oh, we're going to make a phone call and we're going to sit here for 3 hours. I mean, yeah, the plan for us is to make a phone call to our own people. The plan should be this: you should have transportation teams, and the transportation teams. This will work for anything. It'll also work for the street operations. But I'm mainly focusing on what we can present to the court to show something. So you take what happened in San Francisco. So what should have happened there is they make a call to the control center that operates these roving security teams and transportation vehicles. Right? It's 3 vehicles: a front and a rear security vehicle, and in the middle is the transportation vehicle. They make a call, says we need to make a movement to so-and-so. The control center schedules that, sends the transportation team over, and you have the 2 military vehicles with it. You probably want to leave your drivers in your military vehicle, right, and also the other vehicle. And then they dismount. Everybody else dismounts, and they form a safe lane. And then you bring to the door, and then you bring the a detainee out or detainees out through that safe lane. But that could also be used for other that roving patrol thing can be used for all sorts of things. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why you have it, unless you can't do it. But I think it's probably because you had to do what I just said. But in the bigger picture of things, putting in a Sally Port and moving some office somewhere else is not a big deal. Your courts should have a Sally Port, and they should have an elevator. Now building the elevator shaft might be difficult. But again, who knows? Somebody may be able to figure out. Take a few feet from each from each office from here or there, and put a little elevator in that goes down to the Sally Port. That's all that's actually required for a Sally Port. Is, I don't know what the footage is. It's probably like 6 foot by 6 foot or something. The bigger the better, of course. And then you would put the shaft in, and that would go down to a Sally Port, and you might have to cut out a thing in the outer wall, a garage opening, Sally Port opening. So again, it strikes me as something that should have been. I mean, I imagine some of it's new, but it strikes me as something was missed during 9/11 for that kind of stuff. You were supposed to try to secure everything and account for this type of environment where you have to operate in a quiet system. I think even some of the plans is, if you couldn't even operate out of the courthouse, where would you go? How would you do it? That kind of stuff. Right, or out of federal building, whatever the workplace was. I was in on those meetings, I didn't want to be. Well, Slickster was part of it, and they wanted me at the meeting. But I was like, "No, why don't you let Slickster go? I don't work." They hated Slickster, but they wanted you. Nice one. So, yeah, hopefully I can get it settled better and I can more coherently revisit all my stuff when I need to revisit it. Because there's something with magnetometers and other devices. I'm not sure. Oh, look, your courthouse, isn't it? That's another thing. You need magnetometers and X-ray somewhere. I can't remember where it was. I think it's your courthouse. So the roving transportation teams are very important. You have to articulate to the judge the emergency situation, or the judges, the emergency situation. I don't think Judge Breyer's thing will stand because you actually do need that. Again, look on Wikipedia to the exceptions. Learn to love Wikipedia. Embrace it. Don't kill it. I don't think yeah, they'll probably sue you if you went after it. That's what it looks like. Well, the exception is that you can't enforce federal law with what's going on. If you take that video from the courthouse in San Francisco, that says you can't enforce federal law without National Guard. And it's not going away anytime soon. Where'd this photo come from? It's my Desert Storm photo. Look at photos of my family inside one of those Bedouin tents. I'm inside a Bedouin tent. But they gave us Bedouin tents. And they were like so dilapidated. So we didn't have anything for the longest. Sergeant Quintus's knee as he took the photo. Yeah, the strangest time, we had a sandstorm. We were in a Bedouin tent. We're like, you think it's going to make it? I don't know. It's so cheap. It's like almost dry rotted. It's like right before dry rot failure. Well, you have to paint the picture of emergency exigence. And what the judges probably don't understand, not to say that Breyer should have made the ruling that he made, but what they don't understand is what they're looking at is you utilizing agents that you have to put somewhere else. Right. Because we have other, we even have immigration things that, I mean, obviously we're more effective at what we're doing with this particular type of operation, but you have actually people being victimized that are in immigration situations that you can't help because you don't have that National Guard. Again, I can't vouch for how you're using everything and how everything is. That's up to you to be ethical and all that. Right? But what I can do is I know you need National Guard to safely do what you're doing. You need to take some of those agents and kick them back into real human trafficking. I know you're using it a little bit, but you know how you used to do it. Yeah. You have more time for the other stuff. Right? And then you can maybe rescue some people a little bit more instead of just like what right now it's almost like it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's more gross. It's not as fine, right? But you're in the right community, so you're finding what you need to find. Right. And then they have to get out there and they have to get back to the narcotics investigations. Right. The thing is, you can't turn a blind eye to corruption anymore. This is how they're doing. There's no way that they can get stuff into this country at the level they're doing without the corruption. Right. And it's simply an old boy network. Again, it's called the deep state sometimes, where they don't investigate certain people. So, and the people with the big money in the big neighborhoods, they're not getting investigated. They're just getting the lower level guys and gals. So that part's still true as it was when Matt Fogg brought that to everybody's attention. But it's not, Matt Fogg's not really abused like I was. Right? He had a real life. His buddy was. Well, the guy had died. The inspector, I forget his name. Yeah, he was right about bigots with badges. I didn't think at first he was until I studied it, and then I realized that was part of the reason they came after me. I was black, and I wouldn't do her dirty. Well, it's just the fact that they want somebody available that when they want to screw her over, then they can screw her over real quick because the partner will set her up, right? Oh, they were bad about that. Well, she's a black woman that spoke her mind, so white guys that are racist hate that. They want to shut her up, so they want to deep state her. But if I'm her partner, you can't. Right. It's like when they were doing Matt. I could have made my name. I could have been famous if I would have volunteered to do Matt dirty. How what can I get if I set Matt Burke up? Yeah, it's not exactly. I didn't have enough information about deep state to be proactive about it. I was beginning to develop information in the investigation. I thought it was an external entity. Then I started seeing government people involved. Right. I I'm probably right. At a certain point, I thought it was military intelligence people were involved. So I think I was right on that one. I'm just not sure how that fits together. Like naval intelligence. Steve David Brown is probably like a Russian. What's the point? Number of arrests. Russian collusion hoax 0. January 6 0. Mar-a-Lago raid 0. Biden auto pen 0. It's going all the way down. He got a point because I noticed that. Like I said, it's a deep state. Right. Not to say, again, not every person that's affected by it is deep state. Not saying that. Oh, right. I'm still talking to you guys. Hey, yeah, just again, you're not presenting the right picture. Breyer's wrong, but you have to present. You have to go in that courtroom and paint show the video if you need to, and I'd find certain videos to show. And what you want to present is the mood of the I think it was the San Francisco courthouse when they were having to go fisticuffs that long. And again, they have to understand that you're trying to protect the community too, because when they see that, they'll try them even more, and then somebody's going to get shot. They actually were authorized to shoot somebody there. They didn't do it, but because they're carrying a gun, you can't get that close to incapacitating them. Right. Right. So if it had been a couple more members of the public and a couple less officers, they could have used lethal force very easily and made a case for it. Right. No, that's not okay that's happening. You have to tell the judge, look, this idea where it's okay that we fight people doesn't exist. It's false. They're supposed to walk out of that courthouse unscathed, straight to a vehicle. That's normal. So you present the issue, you present your answer. Right. But it fits the exemption. Like I said, I pulled up the exemption. Go to Wikipedia. There's exemptions. Violate Trump's rule. You look at Wikipedia on duty. No, if they came clean, I'd have been paid a lot of money at any time in history. I'm owed billions at this point, based upon what everybody else gets for these, for a lot less. Right. Okay, so I'm looking here for what I had on Wikipedia. I can't find the Wikipedia. I can't read the news right now. Hang on. I just look up the exemptions to posse comitatus on Wikipedia. It's I guess halfway down a page or something, and just realize that you cannot. It doesn't require a full blown rebellion, although we could almost call that a rebellion at times. It requires that the president cannot enforce the laws of the United States with the people he has. That's not enforcing the laws. That's not full enforcement of law. When you walk outside of a courthouse and you're jumped. Right. That's beyond, that's a breakdown. That's rebellion, or at least rebellious. There's no obligation for you to go through that. And the only way not to go through that is for you to provide a safe lane in and out of that courthouse. And at this time, and other courthouses, and other houses where you're detaining people. And the only way to do that is with the National Guard. Now, in some cases, you're using MPs. You need to bring that to the court's attention. Your Honor, we're doing the best we can. We're trying to go heavy on military policemen who actually have that kind of training. Right. So again, you have to do better in court, though. I mean, Breyer is going to do what Breyer is going to do, just like that other judge was going to do what other judge. That other judge, that's a final order. That's not a preliminary order of any type. Because if that judge was not going to decide to remove, what's it called, Alligator Alcatraz, then the damage to the government would be too great for that to be the preliminary order. Right. I mean, it costs a lot of money to remove it. So she actually made the final order as a preliminary order. No, she had a right to say shut it down in a preliminary order. I don't know if they would have went with this. She ruined it by going so far, but I don't know what the other court would have did, right, or what it's going to do. But the most she could do was ask you to shut it down, because then she could say, I guarded the rights of the plaintiffs, right? So there's no additional damage. That's the most she could do. What she did was fashion a final order, which probably pissed off the judges, because it looks stupid. Anybody who knows what they're looking at, it looks stupid. I agree, Larry. Why? She's sending me a message in here. Okay, remember Gilligan's Island, when they used to hide in the pictures, the paintings on the wall, or old sitcoms and stuff, and the eyes would look around the room? That's part of seeing. That's a cue on how to see. So you look at what paintings look at, what photos look at. Christy Noem is looking at the wall here, but I can't figure out what she's looking at, because she's sending me a cue of some sort, whether she knows I exist or not. Oh, maybe she can't see. All right. You have to heal the Secretary of Homeland Security's spiritual vision. Okay. It says DHS announces $6 billion in fines for non-citizens. Remember I told you the reversal? Now she's fined $6 billion. So you have to undo the reversal, unreversed. Well, it's a status game, and it happens whatever way it happens. Sometimes it's a specific curse. No, I'm not joking. The churches are gone. You go in there, there's a group of people that are going to psyop you. It's not protected. It's probably they're saying they're protecting the churches, but it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. Right? It's organized crime, racketeering, extortion. And maybe the people in their church have committed sex crimes, and the only way to get forgiveness is to be that thing. So they're like sacrificing their neighbor. I mean, it's a satanic thing, but you're supposed to love your neighbor, right? No, they hate them. That's hating their neighbor. I don't care what they say. They even came into Walmart to do it, and I'm not paranoid. Well, okay. Immigration rate at New York businesses left workers terrified and slow production. Coroner says, well, why aren't you hiring the right people? Then you wouldn't have to worry, would you? Well, you know what? To his or her, to their credit, we have to fix the system. Yeah, again, that's another thing you have to say to the judge. You have to tell the judge that our goal is to have normal immigration. Our goal isn't to kick every immigrant out of the United States forever, but we have to get to a point where we decide, yes, we're getting to a point where it's safe. This is a point where we can start looking at normalized immigration again, work visas, that kind of thing. We're not here to play the game over and over again that they've been playing for 100 years, because that takes advantage of the immigrant themselves, causes us to not be able to manage or even know that somebody's here. Right. And cause these secret community things. We're covering over for narcotics because that's what they did in a third world country. Right. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, I should have saw it last year. I should have moved out last year. They covered. I just saw it. That what happens when you get near moving, they blind your mind, so you can't see why you would move. Right. I know I have to get out of here at this point, but I couldn't see what I just saw. Right. But when that detective, they were killing me when they were killing that detective that they were charging in Kansas City. Right. That was the scam to get me to come here. Of course, they never tried him. Right. Killed himself. Right. Deep State set that up. The whole thing. Right. Because I would think it would be safe from the Deep State here, right? No. It was a scam to get me here. They had already set up. It's all right. They'll go to hell. Whether they're the prosecutor or not, they'll go to hell. But we're conservative. See, that's a scam. Like I told you, under Ray, the churches need to be investigated. In other words, as you know now, you're in the federal government, and some of you have been in the federal government. There's these, it needs to be honestly applied, that's all. Indicators of things occurring, things degrading in the community. So you have to investigate the community, and sometimes you kind of send a message to the community to go in another direction. No, that's not what they were doing to me. Go away, all of you. What they're doing to me was extortion. So again, it keeps the church from becoming whatever that terror cell was that they had, and they were training with weapons and all of that. It keeps them in check. So we don't have to arrest the Christians and throw them in jail for 20 years. Right?